I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night. She had just gotten back from the palace. She was talking about it.
This is as delicious as a bowl of Martha Stewart's one-pot pasta.
It doesn't sort of follow, so go from there.
Being a big fat gossip of breaking all of those private agreements that Prince Harry had made with King Charles.
So deserved.
Martha Stewart did not need to insult Meghan Markle to make this brutal. She did something much worse. She looked at Meghan's entire transformation, from actress to royal to television homemaker, and basically said she did not understand how any of it connected.
If you're an actress, it's hard to then transition to a princess, and then from a princess into a homemaking guru on a television show. It doesn't sort of follow, so go from there.
That may sound like one small comment. Coming from Martha Stewart, it absolutely is not. Because Meghan is not simply experimenting with a few recipes anymore. Cooking, hosting, flowers, carefully styled tables, garden imagery, lifestyle products, and glossy domestic television have become a major part of the identity she is now trying to sell.
In this interview, he agrees with me, Martha Stewart was showing off her knife skills, and Meghan is the onion.
And Martha is arguably the last person Meghan would want, looking at that reinvention and asking one very simple question. How exactly did we get here? When Martha was asked what she thought about Meghan moving into the cooking and lifestyle space, she had the easiest possible chance to be polite. She could have wished Meghan well, praised the production, complimented the food, or simply said there was room for everybody.
She just doesn't give an F, Glenn. She's like, I'm going to cut this bitch and I don't care if you don't like it. She clearly mocking her. She got back from the palace and she was talking about it. Oh, back from the palace. And how difficult it is to try to jump from these different roles right into making yourself a homemaking guru, and was telegraphing to us all.
Instead, Martha summarized Meghan's journey. Actress, princess, then homemaking personality on television. And after laying out that sequence, Martha said, "It doesn't sort of follow. So go from there." That was it. No rant, no shouting, no dramatic accusation, and the restraint made it hit even harder.
Very critical to note about this is that People magazine is pro Meghan and Harry. They didn't ask her about Meghan and Harry. Martha knew exactly what she was doing.
Martha did not launch into a rant or try to manufacture a feud. She simply laid out Meghan's career path and left the contradictions sitting there for everyone to see. And that is exactly why the comment landed. Martha did not sound jealous of Meghan. She did not sound threatened by Meghan. She sounded unconvinced by Meghan. That might be far more uncomfortable. This is Martha Stewart we are talking about. She did not attach herself to the lifestyle industry because it happened to be fashionable that year.
Shots fired, Glenn.
Totally.
Her career was built around food, homes, gardening, entertaining, publishing, television, and products long before celebrity lifestyle brands became almost mandatory. People knew exactly what Martha Stewart represented. Her name itself became part of the category. That gives Martha a level of credibility Meghan cannot simply manufacture with expensive production, famous friends, or beautiful California scenery. And Meghan chose to walk directly into Martha's territory.
The lifestyle genius has just scored the ultimate revenge on a certain Meghan Markle, her longtime, shall we say, frenemy.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple, printable, and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story. With love, Meghan was not marketed like some random celebrity cooking appearance. It presented a complete lifestyle world. Flowers, food, friendship, entertaining, kitchens, gardens, and carefully arranged domestic moments. Then, as ever extended that image into products, then Meghan appeared on MasterChef Australia, pushing herself even further into food and lifestyle territory.
We all know Meghan Markle has been trying to cosplay Martha Stewart for years with her cooking show, with her, portraying herself as a chef, going on MasterChef Australia. Now, Meghan Markle, she is not an excellent chef. I've seen her move pretzels from one bag into another. I saw her make a rainbow fruit platter.
So when Martha questions whether Meghan's path naturally leads to this new role, she is not merely reviewing one Netflix episode. She is questioning the foundation of the entire reinvention. Why should the audience automatically see Meghan Markle as a lifestyle authority? That is the uncomfortable question underneath Martha's comment. And Meghan's fame cannot answer it by itself. Her title cannot answer it either.
Well, Meghan Markle continues to become persona non grata in Hollywood.
Because there is an enormous difference between being able to attract attention to a cooking show and being trusted because people genuinely believe you know the subject. Martha spent decades creating that trust. Meghan is attempting to build it while simultaneously carrying one of the most distracting identities imaginable, Duchess of Sussex. That title gets people to look, but once they look, Meghan still has to prove why they should stay.
People want to keep them around. I don't think really invest in them, but they want to keep them around on the off chance Harry and Meghan are able to pull a success out of their butts. And so they just kind of like, well, I'll invite them to this party here and there. I mean, they are royals. That's kind of kitschy. Not everybody can say that. But at the same time, nobody is sitting around, I think, thinking, well, if I invite Meghan Markle and Harry to this, I really want them there because they're awesome. I don't think most people are thinking that. People in Hollywood are pretty strategic. And as well, they aren't, let's say, super loyal in particular ways. And so they're just like, yep, Harry and Meghan, they're coming to this dinner. That's awesome. I don't care. I just want to get my name in the paper.
And this is where Martha's comment becomes even harsher. Meghan has reinvented herself repeatedly. She began as an actress. Then she entered the royal family. Then came the move away from royal duties and into California. Then producing, podcasting, documentaries, business ventures, lifestyle branding, cooking, hosting, products. Every new chapter arrives with a new version of Meghan and a new explanation for what the future supposedly looks like.
Martha Stewart got the point across very elegantly that Meghan has failed at everything. But she doesn't say it like that. She just says how difficult it is. And let's not forget that Meghan is always going on and on about how difficult her life is and how difficult all the transitions were and how difficult everything was. But Meghan doesn't say that she is partly or totally responsible for her failure.
Martha's career has changed too, obviously. But the difference is that the central identity survived those changes. Martha built a lifestyle empire, suffered an enormous public collapse, went to prison, rebuilt her career, and eventually became culturally relevant to another generation. Yet nobody needed to ask what Martha Stewart was supposed to be. The answer remained obvious. Food, home, entertaining, business, lifestyle. Her comeback expanded an identity that already existed. Meghan appears to still be searching for the identity itself.
Martha Stewart might not like that. She's a tough old bee. And I say that respectfully.
That is why it doesn't sort of follow cuts deeper than a normal negative review. Martha is essentially asking whether these chapters form one believable story. And before Meghan could even escape that problem, another detail from Martha's interview created an entirely different headache. Because the lifestyle comment was not the only Meghan moment Martha casually dropped.
Meghan Markle can't keep her trap shut and must never be trusted.
She also revealed that she had recently been at a California dinner party with Meghan shortly after Meghan had returned from a royal visit. And somehow, despite Martha saying she and Meghan exchanged only a couple of words, Martha still knew Meghan had been talking about the palace trip. That detail changes the entire story. The conversation had not even begun as Meghan gossip. The conversation was originally about what Martha herself is like at parties. Martha explained that her friends call her LIFO, last in, first out.
Martha, by her own account, exchanged barely a couple of words with Meghan and still came away knowing she was discussing her meeting with the king. That fact travelled across a dinner party, into Martha's ear, and out onto the pages of People magazine, which may explain a certain nervousness in royal circles because it raises the obvious question. Whose house, which night, who else was at that table, and do any of them know any journalists?
She does not enjoy lingering around cocktail parties for hours. She prefers arriving around dinner and leaving after dessert. Then, almost casually, she mentioned being at this California dinner with Meghan. According to Martha, Meghan had just returned from the palace. Martha said the two of them barely spoke, but Martha still knew the trip was being discussed. And suddenly, the interview was no longer only about Meghan trying to become another lifestyle figure.
And I'm not surprised that Meghan Markle was going around some party or some event talking about being with the royals, because she still wants to portray herself as royal adjacent, okay? She left the royal family, but she still wants to call herself the Duchess of Sussex to sell her products, even though I think she spent like 5 hours in Sussex in total in her whole life. And she still wants to portray herself as close to King Charles and Camilla.
Now the royal connection was back in the middle of everything again. To be clear, Martha never said Meghan revealed some secret conversation with King Charles. She never claimed Meghan exposed confidential royal information. She did not even explain exactly what Meghan said. That should not be exaggerated.
I don't think that the king is at all surprised, and I don't think he would be surprised. I think it's what he would expect of Meghan.
But the awkward part is what Martha did reveal. If Martha barely interacted with Meghan and still walked away knowing the fresh palace visit had become a subject of conversation, then clearly the royal trip had enough presence around that dinner table to be noticed. And that immediately creates a much bigger question. If Martha hardly spoke with Meghan, yet still knew what Meghan was discussing, who else was hearing it? Who hosted the dinner? Who else was sitting there? How widely was this royal visit being talked about among the people in that room?
I'm not surprised that Meghan Markle is going around this party, probably in her little jean booty shorts, whatever she's wearing in Southern California, barefoot, running around like a little ragamuffin, talking about being at the palace.
Martha did not answer those questions. She accidentally created them. And this is where Meghan's two worlds collide. On one side, she is building a California lifestyle identity that is supposed to stand as its own business. On the other, one of the details Martha Stewart remembers from being around Meghan is not the cooking show, not a recipe, not the products, not the garden. It is the palace. That is the problem Meghan has never fully solved.
That was the whole purpose of the meeting, wasn't it? To re-gild her royal lily and to give her an opportunity to try to maybe spin the very tenuous connection that she has with the royal family into new assignments via various entertainment outlets. Because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Royalty remains the most instantly interesting thing attached to her name. She may be selling a new chapter, but the old chapter is still the one capable of changing the atmosphere in a room. And that makes her relationship with the royal connection incredibly complicated. Because Meghan's title is still useful. It separates her from thousands of actresses, entrepreneurs, influencers, and celebrity founders. There are endless cooking creators online. There are endless lifestyle businesses. There are celebrities launching products constantly.
I'm glad people aren't kowtowing to them. No one should be scared of Harry and Meghan. We don't have royalty in the US, okay? They don't have any clout. They don't have any importance. They left the royal family in 2020. No one should be walking on eggshells or biting their tongue. Let it rip. And this is Martha Stewart letting it rip.
There are professionally trained chefs, recipe developers, home experts, and influencers who have spent years demonstrating their skills to audiences. Meghan enters that crowded market with something most of those people do not have: a royal title. But that advantage creates its own trap. The more the title is responsible for generating attention, the harder it becomes to prove that the lifestyle brand would be interesting without it. Inside royal life, the title existed alongside an institution.
Is part of the problem of Meghan Markle and Harry in the first place when it comes to the British monarchy and any hopes that the couple have of reintegrating, which is that you can't rely on them to keep their mouths shut. They have made a career off sharing royal family secrets, and they're essentially still doing it. They're still going to parties, they're still going to different things, and they're still blabbing, blabbing, blabbing.
There were official duties, ceremonies, staff, historic buildings, global coverage. The entire machinery of monarchy gave the role significance before Meghan needed to sell anything herself. California is different. The title might make somebody click. It cannot make a recipe good. It cannot make a show compelling. It cannot create expertise. And it cannot force consumers to trust a product.
This horror show came so soon after what was a pretty disastrous, embarrassing, mortifying, choose your own adventure 45th birthday party, where Meghan basically had to celebrate herself.
Once Meghan entered the commercial lifestyle world, she entered the same marketplace as everybody else. People can simply ask, what makes you good at this? That is a far more dangerous question than whether Meghan can attract publicity. Of course she can attract publicity. She has been attracting publicity for years. The challenge is turning that publicity into authority. And Martha Stewart represents authority in exactly the category Meghan has chosen. That is why the comparison is so brutal. Martha did not receive credibility because she once held an extraordinary title somewhere else.
Meghan Markle and her lifestyle brand, as ever, just got a blistering verdict from home queen Martha Stewart as she talks about interacting a bit with Meghan Markle at a recent dinner party, and then also what her thoughts are about Meghan's transition from being an actress to a princess, and then basically a bare bones basic influencer, much lower tiered than Martha Stewart.
She built credibility within the industry itself. Recipes, books, magazines, television, products, gardening, hosting, years of repetition until audiences understood precisely what her name promised. Meghan is arriving with enormous name recognition, but name recognition is not the same thing. She still has to convince people that this is a natural place for her. And Martha just openly questioned whether it is. That would already be enough for one uncomfortable interview. But combining it with the dinner party revelation makes the whole thing worse. Because the two moments expose the same contradiction from opposite directions. Meghan wants her lifestyle chapter to look independent from royal life.
I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night. Well, she was at the same table. So I can't say, she wasn't my guest. We were both guests at a dinner party in California. And she had just gotten back from the palace. And I think I didn't talk to her really more than to say a couple words, but I know she was talking about it.
Yet shortly after a royal visit, Martha Stewart remembers the palace becoming part of the dinner conversation. Then Martha is asked about Meghan's supposedly independent new lifestyle identity and responds by questioning how Meghan arrived there in the first place. The palace keeps following her into the new brand, and the new brand keeps inviting comparisons with people who built credibility without a palace. That is a difficult position. And there is another reason this comparison hurts. Meghan is not entering the lifestyle world as an unknown person who can quietly build credibility over time. She enters with enormous expectations already attached to her name.
Martha Stewart there, just in a couple words, really hits on why Meghan Markle has really failed to make it in the entertainment industry. Yes, she still gets some invites to parties. Yes, she still hangs out with people, but Meghan Markle is not really making the inroads that she thought she would. And she is definitely not going to have a Martha Stewart level empire.
Every launch is immediately measured against the scale of the life she had before, which means an ordinary celebrity project can look strangely small beside the institution she once represented. That creates a prestige problem as well as a business problem. A polished kitchen, a beautiful table, and a new product may work perfectly well for another celebrity founder. For Meghan, those same things are constantly compared with palace balconies, royal tours, and global attention. The new brand has to compete not only with Martha and other lifestyle figures, but with Meghan's own past.
And here's the thing. Martha Stewart doesn't refer to her as the Duchess. She just calls her Meghan Markle. Because that's who she is to everybody still, Meghan Markle. Because Meghan Markle can't really make the Duchess title fit. Let's be honest.
And that is why Martha's reaction feels so damaging. She did not need to prove that Meghan's new career was failing. She only had to make the transition itself look less convincing. Meghan left one of the most exclusive institutions in the world and entered one of the most crowded industries in the world. Think about that difference. Becoming a member of the British royal family placed Meghan in a position almost nobody could ever occupy. There are very few people who will ever stand on those balconies, attend those events, and experience that level of institutional access. The lifestyle market has the opposite problem. Everybody is there. Actors launch brands. Reality stars launch brands.
I feel like if you're in Hollywood, it's best not to share certain things because they'll probably get out, depending on who you're talking to. But of course, this is what Meghan has always wanted, guys, is to be invited to these parties because she wasn't before.
Influencers launch brands. Chefs have brands. Wellness personalities have brands. People build enormous recipe audiences from their own kitchens. There is no shortage of competition. So going from actress to royal represented an extraordinary jump in exclusivity. Going from royal life to lifestyle television means Meghan now has to compete in a field filled with people who already possess deep experience. That is what Martha's short answer accidentally highlights. The royal title can make Meghan unusual. It cannot make her Martha Stewart. And this is probably why the calmness of Martha's delivery mattered so much. Had she launched into some furious attack, Meghan's defenders could simply dismiss the whole thing as another celebrity feud.
But I have a good time while I'm there. I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night. We were both guests at a dinner party in California, and she had just gotten back from the palace. I didn't talk to her really more than to say a couple of words, but I know she was talking about it.
But Martha did not appear furious. She sounded almost puzzled. Actress, princess, homemaking guru. It does not really follow. That kind of dismissal is harder to turn into a dramatic fight because there is barely a fight happening. Martha simply does not appear persuaded, and Meghan cannot solve that by arguing with Martha. She has to solve it by making the lifestyle identity convincing enough that the question disappears. More episodes might help. More successful products might help. More time might help. But for now, Martha's comment goes directly at the weakness Meghan's entire new brand needs to overcome. Authenticity of transition. Why this? Why now? Why Meghan?
But you know, Dan, I don't know why anybody's surprised that Meghan is dining out on what happened with, and she's, of course, going to be bigging up.
And ironically, the dinner story shows why answering those questions without relying on royalty is so difficult. Even in California, after everything that has happened, the palace remains conversational currency. That does not mean Meghan leaked private royal secrets. Martha never said that, and claiming otherwise would go beyond what the interview established. But the fact that the trip was apparently being discussed enough for Martha to know about it despite barely speaking with Meghan creates obvious questions about how truly separate Meghan's California life can ever become from the royal story. One dinner table is a perfect example. Meghan is physically thousands of miles from royal life. She is surrounded by California guests. She is building a lifestyle business. And what enters the conversation? The palace.
At a recent Hollywood dinner, Martha Stewart notes that Meghan Markle was yapping to all in sundry about her royal reunion with King Charles.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now, let's get back to today's story. Then, one of the most famous lifestyle entrepreneurs in history takes a look at Meghan's new professional identity and basically asks how that happened. That is why these comments belong together. Martha exposed Meghan's biggest advantage and biggest weakness in almost the same breath. The Royal Association keeps Meghan interesting, but it may also prevent the audience from fully accepting every new identity as something independent. Without the royal story, Meghan has to compete on expertise. With the royal story, people keep wondering whether royalty is still the real product. And Martha Stewart may have demonstrated that better than anybody intended. She barely needed to talk to Meghan to remember the palace conversation. And she barely needed a sentence to question the lifestyle pivot. No huge feud was required. No scandalous allegation was required. No 20-minute takedown was required.
Meghan Markle continues to rip off Martha Stewart, and it seems Martha Stewart's had enough.
Martha simply looked at the career path Meghan has spent years constructing and refused to pretend the transition was obvious. That is a particularly cold response, because Meghan's new image depends on making all of this look effortless. The flowers, the food, the entertaining, the garden, the soft California aesthetic, the carefully presented idea that this is simply who Meghan is now. Martha's response interrupts that fantasy with one basic question. Does this actually make sense? And then the dinner party story reminds everyone that the identity Meghan supposedly left behind remains impossible to completely remove from the picture. That may be the real problem.
What she said here, which is not much, but at the same time, I think says a lot if you know what to look for.
Meghan wants the freedom of a California lifestyle entrepreneur while retaining the fascination attached to being a duchess. Those two things can benefit each other, but they can also undermine each other. If royalty constantly remains the most interesting thing about Meghan, the lifestyle identity struggles to become the main event. If Meghan completely removes the royal connection, she loses one of the biggest things separating her from an overcrowded celebrity brand market. And Martha Stewart just managed to expose both sides of that dilemma in one interview. First, the woman who built one of the biggest lifestyle empires on earth looked at Meghan's transformation and essentially said she could not see the natural connection.
This will worry King Charles, and it should, and it must.
Then Martha revealed that after Meghan returned from a palace visit, royalty was still apparently interesting enough to become dinner table conversation in California. That is the collision Meghan has been trying to avoid. The new life still depends on fascination with the old one. And the woman whose industry Meghan has now entered is not automatically buying the reinvention. Martha did not call Meghan a failure. She did not say the show could never work. She did not say the products would collapse. She did not need to. She simply looked at Meghan Markle's journey from actress to royal to lifestyle personality and gave the kind of verdict that might be even harder to shake off. It doesn't sort of follow. And coming from Martha Stewart, Meghan could have heard much louder words that hurt a lot less.